Okay, cool. What we'll do is probably then the age waiver first, and then any testimony, concerns, so on and so forth. And then we'll just start immediately thereafter the discussion about the next docket. Fair?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, how was that? Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm City Councilor Lydia Edwards, Chair of the Committee on Government Operations. It's Monday, September 20th, 2021, and we're here today for a virtual hearing on dockets 0859, petition for a special law regarding an act directing the City of Boston Police Department to waive the maximum age requirement for police officers for Danielle Flores. This was referred to the committee on July 21st, 2021. And docket 0562, petition for a special law regarding an act providing certain benefits for the widow of a former firefighter of the City of Boston, referred to the committee on April 14, 2021. These matters were both sponsored by Councilor Arroyo. In accordance with Chapter 20 of the Act of 2021, modifying certain requirements of the open meeting law and relieving public bodies of certain requirements, including the requirement that public bodies conduct meetings in a public place, we are holding this hearing via Zoom. This enables the City Council to carry out its responsibilities while adhering to public health accommodations. The public may watch this hearing via live stream at www.boston.gov/city-council-tv and on Xfinity 8, RCN 82, and Verizon 964. It will also be rebroadcasted at a later date. Written comments may be sent to the committee email at ccc.go@boston.gov and will be made part of the record and available to all councilors. Joining the committee today during our first discussion, which will be over docket 0859, is Danielle Flores, the BPD applicant. After that discussion and any questions from the councilors, we will then move to docket 0562. So I will now go to Councilor Arroyo, who is the sponsor of both dockets, if he wants to do some introductory remarks about docket 0859. And then any other councilors, and then we'll hear from Mr. Flores.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll save my comments for docket 0562 for when we get there. Docket 0859, sometime around literally September 29th of last year, we did one of these that Frank Baker had asked for. In this case, it's an age waiver. It does not make Mr. Flores an officer. It just allows him to continue in the process of becoming an officer, which is something that he's already started. Mr. Flores is 42. He's 3 months out of that age range. He's applied several times to be an officer. This is the furthest he's gotten in the process. Mr. Flores currently works for the Boston School Police Department, where he's been employed since September of 2015. And prior to that, he worked for Youth Options Unlimited in Boston for 11 years, working with youth between the ages of 16 and 24 who were court involved or gang affiliated. He's a very fit 42-year-old. Has gone through this whole process already, and the concern now is that because of the this last time, which is the furthest time he went through, and I'll let him sort of speak to his record of trying to get in and all of that. This is the furthest that he's gotten. However, the age requirement blocked him, and so we're trying to give him an opportunity to go through this process without being blocked by the age waiver. So without being blocked by the age requirement with this age waiver.
Very well. Councilor Flynn, and if we've been joined by any other councilors, but Councilor Flynn?
Yes, thank you, Councilor Edwards. Thank you, Councilor Arroyo. I think Councilor Arroyo summed it up best. We want to give this person the opportunity to continue along in that process. He might be several months over the age limit, but this person is dedicated and professional and hardworking and wants the opportunity to continue working and serving the residents of Boston. That's what's important. Mr. Flores has worked hard his whole life. No one's giving him anything. He's fighting for it, and he's looking for an opportunity to continue that service for the residents of the city of Boston. I 100% support someone that wants to continue that wants to give back, and that's what I think Mr. Flores wants to do, is continue that service of public service and to give back to the city of Boston. So I certainly support that. Thank you, Councilor Edwards, and thank you, Councilor Arroyo.
Thank you.
Thank you both. I think this is consistent with what we've done many times, giving people the opportunity to continue to try. despite the age limit. So I think Councilor Arroyo, we can turn it over to Mr. Flores, if he'd like to say anything. Let me see if I want to try and unmute you. Mr. Flores, Danny Flores, I see you on screen. You just need to unmute. Let me see. I just sent you a request.
Unmute.
Oh, okay, here you go.
There we go. Good morning, everybody. So yes, as Councilwoman Arroyo, yes, I've been working for the city for over a decade now, so, serving the youth and just, helping the people and the city I love. I was born and raised here in Jamaica Plain. Now I reside in Rosendale. And, it's an honor, just wearing the badge that I wear for Boston School Police. I think it's a symbol of, for me, is just like a calling, for just to help. It's not just a badge that you wear that, that it's a badge of power. To me, it's a badge to give me an opportunity to just further help people. I do that now with Boston Public Schools and helping the students here, whether it's anything from education to mental health. I get approached a lot by my students, asking various questions, and I always do my best to just help them out. My last resort always have been to make an arrest, and that's just not what I do. It's just not in my mind to just make that call. My first thing is to exhaust every option to help the person, and that's something that I want to bring to the city overall. Granted, one thing I always say is that not every arrest is a bad arrest, because that can be something that a court can actually help and provide the person that needs these services. One thing that I always done is I've always tried to do some outreach to the students here, and refer them to my previous job, which is Youth Options Unlimited Boston, if they are court involved, because it's always about what they do after they make the mistake and how further they can better their lives. So I'm a big advocate on not just helping people overall, but the youth. I just feel like the youth needs more attention.
We appreciate your dedication and your years already of service to the community and safety and making sure our youth feel heard and valued. I think it's very important, and it's incredible to see you do that. And you said you were a lifelong person or resident of Boston, so you know this city very well.
Yes.
And so, bar any other concerns, Councilor Arroyo, we're happy to move this forward at the next meeting.
I have no concerns.
Thank you so much for your service, Mr. Flores.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming here today.
No, just, thank you for the opportunity. I'm looking forward, for the next process, and, hopefully I can, get approved and, take this opportunity to go even further into this Boston police process. And I thank you guys for the chance and the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Flores.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you. You as well.
Okie dokie. So we're going to move on to the next docket and formally start that discussion. That again would be docket 0562, a special law a petition for a special law regarding an act providing certain benefits for the widow of a former firefighter of the city of Boston, referred to the committee on April 14th. The same open meeting law waivers apply as they did in the previous hearing. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the lead sponsor, Councilor Arroyo, for some introductory remarks. Here today also is Maria Rodriguez, who is the widow of Leroy Rodriguez, as well as Michael OReilly, who is the legislative agent of the Boston Firefighters Local 718. Councilor Arroyo.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm glad we have Mr. OReilly here and Ms. Rodriguez, who can answer any places I can't fill in. But specifically, this is a petition to ensure that Mr. Leroy Rodriguez's death qualifies as an accidental death, so that his widow and his family can receive the proper death benefits. This is a pretty sad case. In this instance, Ms. Rodriguez was responding to a fire on River Street, went down the pole and tore his Achilles. I believe he tore it, but he damaged it. His Achilles tendon was required due to that work injury to receive surgery on his leg, where he passed away during the surgery. He had a cardiac arrest during the surgery. And because of that, because it wasn't directly on the scene or at the fire that he passed away, he did not receive death benefits, which left his family, his wife and his children in a predicament. And I'd like to fix that now with the act that we have in front of us.
Thank you, Councilor Arroyo. Councilor Flynn.
Yes, thank you, Councilor Edwards. Thank you, Councilor Arroyo. And let me start by first saying to Ms. Rodriguez that we are very sorry for your loss. I know it must be a very difficult time for you and your family, but please know the residents of the city respect the service of your husband and the sacrifice and service of your family as well. You know, when a firefighter serves, so doesn't their family. And I know you are represented very well by the men and women at Local 718. So I want to say thank you to the professional work of Local 718. I support this, not 100%, I support this 1,000%, because I know the incredible sacrifice you and your family have made to our city. And that injury happened in the line of duty. And as your husband went to the hospital, passed away, but that's a line of injury, death, in the city of Boston must respect that service, and you respect that service by making sure that the family receives the benefits and support and services that they're entitled to. So again, I support this 1,000% and want to say thank you for your service and your sacrifice, and thank you to the professional work that you that Local 718 is also providing in assisting you. I don't have anything else to say. Councilor Edwards, thank you, Councilor Edwards. And I just also want to acknowledge our colleague, Councilor Arroyo, for your advocacy and making sure, in working hard to make sure that the Rodriguez family is treated with the respect and dignity that they deserve. You in Local 718. Thank you, Councilor Arroyo.
Thank you, Councilor Flynn. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Rodriguez and Mr. OReilly for any testimony you'd like to have to give. Excuse me.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairwoman Edwards. First, I'd like to thank you and the Committee on Governmental Operations for holding this hearing and allowing us the opportunity to testify before you today. I would also be remiss if I didn't thank Councilor Arroyo. Councilor, you were there spot on when I called you. You immediately answered the phone, was very receptive and responsive. You met with us out in Hyde Park. and we appreciate all the work that you do in your response to our call with the concern of this line of duty death benefit. I would also like to acknowledge and thank Councilors Flaherty, Flynn, Asabi, George, Braden, Wu, Bach, Campbell, and O'Malley for also signing on to this very important home rule petition. Just to kind of set the stage a little bit, on July 1st, in the early morning hours of July 1st, 2019, incident number 19-0039798 occurred when calls started to come in for a report of a building fire at 1045 River Street. Ladder 25, under the command of Fire Lieutenant Leroy Rodriguez, was dispatched to that fire as the RIT truck, or part of the RIT team. RIT is the Rapid Intervention Team. That is the team that we send as firefighters. You know, we respond to protect property, save lives, but we have to have somebody respond in case something happens to us. And what we have done is we have gotten into, specially trained companies just for that purpose. So as Lieutenant Rodriguez slid the pole, he landed very rough, very hard on the floor, rolled his ankle, tore his Achilles tendon. He did, in fact, respond to that fire, performed his duties as the commander of the RIT team through great pain and suffering with the Achilles tear, and ended up going off. They got back from that fire somewhere around 2 o'clock in the morning, suffered through the rest of the tour to about 6 when he couldn't go on anymore, and then was relieved by the oncoming lieutenant and then went to the emergency room. So that is basically the incident, the stage. As Councilor Arroyo mentioned, while Lieutenant Rodriguez was on the operating table having this Achilles tear repaired, he subsequently went into cardiac arrest and died. There's obviously it sent Maria Rodriguez's life, basically tipped it upside down, as I'm sure as you can all imagine. Very confusing, a lot of things being thrown out of her at once, including the retirement process. And in the retirement process, I would say, I just had a conversation with her earlier, typical firefighter's wife really kind of just knows how to read the calendar and know when you're working or not. And other than that, the retirement stuff, a lot of the other minutia, the stuff that goes into it. So Ms. Rodriguez was unaware of the different, types of retirement, whatnot. Fire Lieutenant Rodriguez did receive the full honors of a line of duty funeral and was buried with honor. One of the, as being in the retirement community, the legislative agent for a very long time, for 718, and being in the retirement community for a very long time, one of the most narrowly interpreted, or in some cases misinterpreted laws is Chapter 32, Section 100. And if you just bear with me, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just a part that pertains to firefighters. So Section 100 is notwithstanding any provision of this chapter or any other general or special law to the contrary. If a firefighter, while in the performance of his duties and as the result of an accident while responding to or returning from an alarm of fire or any emergency, or as a result of an accident involving a fire department vehicle which the firefighter is operating or in which he is riding, or, and this is the most important part that gets I think misinterpreted all the time, or while at the scene of a fire or an emergency is killed or sustains injuries which result in his death. Okay, is killed or sustains injuries which result in his death. I will now read, again, just briefly, and I appreciate you bearing with me, some notes from Dr. Christine Campbell-Reardon, who is the retirement board doctor that the retirement board uses in cases with accidental deaths and line of duty deaths. All right, she states, and I quote, "It is my medical opinion that Lieutenant Leroy Rodriguez, the cause of his anoxic brain injury was from the prolonged cardiac arrest. Despite aggressive CPR and advanced life support measures and targeted temperature therapy, he still sustained a severe anoxic brain injury. The cardiac arrest occurred during the surgery for repair of his Achilles tendon injury that occurred while working as a Boston firefighter. Had this injury not occurred, Lieutenant Rodriguez would not have required the surgical intervention, and the series of events leading to his death would not have occurred. It was a necessity for Lieutenant Rodriguez to undergo surgical repair of his Achilles tendon so that he could walk and also be able to return to his duties as a Boston Fire lieutenant. Therefore, it is my opinion that Leroy Rodriguez's death was the direct result of an accident that occurred while in the performance of his duties." So, like I said, and you know, where people sometimes get confused is, well, he didn't die right there on the scene, or he didn't die, directly responding to a working act. But he did, like I said, as a result of the response to the incident, suffer the Achilles tendon tear, which then put him in the circumstances in which he was, where he had the cardiac arrest and died. That is all I have. I'm going to turn it over to Maria Rodriguez, a widow of Fire Lieutenant Leroy Rodriguez, and for her remarks. But again, I want to thank you, Madam Chairwoman Edwards, for holding this hearing, and you also, Councilor Arroyo, Councilor Flynn. You're at every hearing I've ever seen. So I want to thank you for all the work that you do as well. So without further ado, Maria Rodriguez would like to say a few words.
Well,
Okay.
I'm so sorry. I'm hoping I can at least get a couple of words out.
Take
But,
your time. It's okay.
Take your time.
First of all, I want to thank you guys for counselors coming out and representing this and hearing this. This has not been easy. It's not something that we expect, especially for what we would consider a minor injury, for the end result to be burying my husband of 33 years, not only of marriage, but in serving as a firefighter for the city of Boston. I don't have words I do have words. I don't think you guys would like to hear what I really want to say, but it was all the misunderstanding, all the confusion. As Michael brought out, as wife of a firefighter, we really don't know much what goes on behind the scenes. A lot of our firefighters, they keep what happens to them or what they see out there. They leave it out in the firehouse. They don't bring it into the homes. So as wives or spouse, children, we really don't know what goes on behind the scenes, so to speak. All we know is that they work 24 hours, they come home, and they just want to spend that quality time with their family. I no longer have that. I don't get to see my husband. It's been now 2 years. And it's not an easy process going through the motions that everyone thinks that you're okay, but you're not inside. And to be dealing with all this administrative stuff, although I am really good about it, it was also really hard for me to understand the language that's on the Section 100. Because when I read it, And believe me, when I say I read that whole document. And like I brought out to Michael, that one word, or, O-R, a two-letter word is what distinguished the difference between whether my husband died in an accidental injury, sustained injury from his job, or whether it was outside. And I'm reading that document like the word or, like I said, it's just a two-letter word. And that's going to determine whether the benefit that a family will receive thereafter, not that I prefer my husband versus the benefit, but in this case, I have to move forward and I want to make sure that our kids are being taken care of or that they're receiving the benefit, I hate to say this, but the benefit of what comes after a death, I guess. So I just want to make this right. I just want to make sure that the city is seeing these cases and realizing that, you know, this has a huge impact on a family. And I'm sorry that I'm mumbling right now because there's so much that I really want to say, and I'm really holding back from my true feeling about all of this. But I just want the city to make it right because they went ahead and gave him an honor ceremony. And I was under the assumption, I'm like, okay, he is receiving. And I was told, you know, that the family will receive the Section 100. And then all of a sudden, you know, it comes down to that they've seen it differently. And I just want an explanation. I just want to have a better understanding of why it went from a standard Section 12 and not the 100 that I guess I was told, or I guess it's the misunderstanding of the language. So not everyone from the outside seen it as an accident that Leroy sustained an injury at his job. But unfortunately, the medical board or the retirement board sees it differently. So I just want an understanding and explanation as to how do you guys view this? Because I see it as he passed away in the line of duty, active line of duty versus just an active firefighter. Thank you.
If I could just add, I apologize as well. And, you know, I hate to use the word benefit too, because there's no benefit in losing a loved one. But one of the indirect benefits of Lieutenant Rodriguez's death is he has a son, Leroy Jr., who is of qualifying age, able-bodied, and would love nothing more than to follow his dad's footsteps as a Boston firefighter. And without the Section 100, I don't have to tell any of you, you know, how difficult it is, you know, for, you know, an individual to get on the fire department unless they're a veteran. So this would be you know, also the opportunity, like I said, that Leroy Jr. could honor his dad's death in you know, in service to the city himself, which is what he wants to do. There's nothing more he wants to do in life than to follow his dad's footsteps in becoming a firefighter. So that is again, you know, not just a benefit to Leroy Jr., but also to the city of Boston, where, you know, they can add to the ranks, the Boston firefighter, another, you know, a very qualified, able-bodied candidate of color, which otherwise, like I said, unless you're a veteran, you know, can be difficult. And I know I'm not telling you guys anything that you don't already know. And lastly, I forgot in my remarks, I apologize. I realized kind of a typo, and is my typo on the original document. I did notify Councilor Arroyo's office last week, and I spoke to Yasmin there, and she had told me just to kind of mention it today, that it would be fine and they'd be able to fix the language. But in section 2 of the docket, there's one sentence change, and instead of a yearly amount of pension equal to 3/4 of the amount of the annual pension that would have been payable to said Leroy Rodriguez had he continued service, it should say an annual amount of pension equal to the amount of salary which would have been paid to said Fire Lieutenant Rodriguez had he continued service. So I have submitted this change to Councilor Arroyo's office, and hopefully we can make that correction as this moves forward. And again, I just sincerely want to thank all you councilors for your work that you do every day, but also for recognizing this and getting on this on the docket and hearing us. But without further ado, that's all I have. And turn it back to you guys.
Thank you so much. Ms. Rodriguez, if I haven't, I apologize for not expressing first your acknowledgement of your pain and what you've gone through in the last 2 years. I think what is particularly sad to hear is that just going through the process has only furthered your pain and your sense of loss. Working with and for and trying to do the governmental process and administration shouldn't do that to anybody. And that's what I heard initially from you, is that, just trying to just do what they ask of you was painful in that process as well. I'm sorry for that. Genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, very sorry for that.
Thank you.
We've had many hearings about this, mostly for folks who are disabled. And the city council has heard from other matters like this as well. Today was about your voice. Today was about hearing from 718. And of course, again, I want to thank Councilor Arroyo. I want my colleagues to know that there is a packet that has the letter, the doctor's opinion in it from the retirement board. It does also have sensitive information in there. And so while it is on the record for my colleagues to acknowledge that that is personal information, so it's to be read for their own understanding and information. In terms of the next steps, at other retirement hearings, we've had retirement board members come and speak, but again, that was not today's point. It was to hear from you, Ms. Rodriguez. It was to hear from you, Mr. O'Reilly. So I'm gonna ask that the retirement board explain what their decision, I don't have their decision. We don't have their decision, I should say, that the city council to what the denial was about. But I think, Mr. O'Reilly, you summarized it as a misinterpretation or a narrow interpretation of the law. And I think that's actually how Councilor Arroyo described it as well. It's very narrow understanding. And now we have the opinion from the doctor saying one led to the other, period. The surgery, having to get the surgery from hurting his ankle and his Achilles tendon. So I'd like to get a letter from the retirement board if they had a response to this, but I don't intend to delay this very long. And I want you to be able to move on with your life and be able to move on in this process. But today was your day, Ms. Rodriguez, and that's why I wanted to hear, and I think the council needed to hear this is being recorded from you. And I've suffered a loss as well. Grief is devastating. It is prolonged and it hits you when you least expect it. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Councilor Arroyo, Councilor Flynn, do you have any remarks?
Yeah, I just want to make sure, Ms. Rodriguez, thank you so much for taking the time today. I know this is very difficult. When we spoke in Hyde Park, I gave you my apologies that the system failed you and that I hoped we would be able to remedy this as quickly as possible for your sake and for Leroy Jr. And I believe we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that that moves as quickly as possible because 2 years has been too long as is. So I want to thank 718 and Mike O'Reilly for bringing this to my attention. As soon as I heard this, I knew this was an injustice that I wanted to try and correct. So thank you for taking this time today. Mr. O'Reilly, if you can just really briefly, because I think it's important, Leroy Rodriguez Jr. wants to be a firefighter, wants to do the same service that his father gave his life doing for the city, which is incredibly moving, first and foremost. But this process to become a firefighter is complicated and difficult. However, one of the aspects of accidental death is that there's a separate distinction that happens to their children, correct? And if you could just tell me the time requirements were under there, because I think one of the major things that was repeated to me over and over again wasn't necessarily that there was any, obviously the financial resources that Mr. Rodriguez provided that are missing is an issue, but that the major thrust of this was that Leroy Rodriguez Jr. has this dream, and this helps him accomplish that. And if you could just go into sort of what the time restrictions or time restraints we're facing there are, so I have a better idea, because I don't think I've ever actually gotten the full timeline that we need to get this done on for that to work for Mr. Rodriguez Jr.
So Chapter 31, Section 26 of the Mass General Laws, which is the civil service law, provides for a survivor benefit of children who are survivors of police officers, firefighters killed in line of duty. Going off the civil service age requirement, it would be 32, and Leroy Jr.
He'll be 31 in November.
And he'll be 31 in November. Obviously, not that we want to, but we could always come back, just like the previous docket before us, to extend that. But, I think we have an opportunity now, to, like I said, if this, go through and go up the State House and sign into law by the governor, then we can, we can do that. So I guess the simple answer to your question is just over a year, right? A year and a couple months, maybe 14 months until he turns 32. So he has taken the test. He scored very well. He's on. Right now, he is sitting actively on the civil service list. However, unfortunately, he is on the list that, sadly to say, doesn't move too often because he's not a veteran. So, so roughly about 14 months until he hits the 32 mark. Although he doesn't have to be hired at 32, as long as I'm sure let me think here, there may be another entrance exam prior to him turning 32. So as long as he takes that exam before he's 32, he'll be eligible to take that exam, I should say. But he does turn 32 in about 14 months.
Thank you very much for answering that. That helps clear it up for me as well, and what we need our State House partners to do. Thank you, Mr. O'Reilly. And thank you, Ms. Rodriguez.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Councilor Flynn?
Thank you, Councilor Edwards. And again, thank you, Councilor Arroyo and Local 718. I don't have any further questions or comments other than to say that, when a firefighter is serving the residents of the city, so doesn't the family as well. So they're also sacrificing in serving for the residents of Boston. So it's the Rodriguez's family and so many other families that continue to make our city the great city it is. And it's about sacrifice, and I see the pain from your family and the sacrifice of your family, but we need to make sure that we respect that pain and sacrifice and service through passing programs and legislation that protects firefighter families and our first responder families as well. So I just wanted to highlight that sacrifice of our first responders' families. They play an exceptional role in our city.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that, Councilor Flynn.
Thank you. Thank you both for being here today. So I'm going to just check in with Councilor Arroyo about timing and anything we can get on from the retirement board, if there's anything. But I expect we'll move this along as well to get to the vote. So thank you so much for being here today. I think you speak on behalf of a lot of people, Ms. Rodriguez. I think you do. So thank you. A lot of families. I'm going to go ahead and conclude today's hearing on this matter. I'll check in with Councilor Arroyo shortly thereafter.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. And I just want to say real quickly, good luck in your future endeavors.
Okay. No. So we're going to conclude now. Good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Just unplugged us. Leave.